Psychologists might now be able to diagnose mental health disorders using just your hair. I'm going to share with you this paper from a university in Canada that shows us how they did it. According to the study, hair cortisol concentration, HCC, has emerged as a viable biomarker of chronic stress. If you don't know what that means, let me explain. When you get stressed, your body releases a chemical called cortisol. Cortisol does a bunch of different things, but the main thing it does is it kind of wakes your body up. It sort of gives you that sense of energy or fuel when something stressful is happening. You can literally feel cortisol when you're getting stressed because that's the feeling of stress. It might pronounce itself as a tightening of the chest, a feeling of energy or elevated heart rate. Whatever you feel, that's cortisol doing its job to wake your body up. So when you feel anxiety, what's really going on under the hood inside your body is a few different things, and the release of cortisol is one of them. So that's literally what you feel. You feel the cortisol manifesting as anxiety. Does that make sense? So now you might be wondering, how does my hair come into all of this? So due to the way that cortisol is built chemically inside your body, it's actually small enough to enter into your hair while it's still growing inside your scalp, inside your head. So in other words, right now, if you've ever been stressed before, there's probably cortisol in your hair strands. It's sort of just been built in and solidified in there. Sounds a bit scary, but it's normal and this is okay. If that doesn't make any sense, I'll just give it to you in a very oversimplified way. Think of it like this. Anxiety has been built into your hair. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. So what that means then is psychologists and scientists need to develop a test in order to find the anxiety in your hair. And that's pretty much what this paper did. So using the data from 244 children, using an enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, ELISA, using the high sensitivity salivary cortisol immunoassay kit, they examined the first 3 centimeters of the hair samples in the 244 children across 4 years, and this is what they found. Nearly a quarter of children, 23.36%, followed a hyper to hypo trajectory, displaying initially elevated HCC that decreased over time to normative levels. This class potentially identifies children with an adaptive profile of HPA axis functioning who have habituated to chronic stresses and return to normal functioning. Consistent with this notion, we found that the children in the hyper to hypo class had lower internalizing and externalizing psychopathology symptoms over time. If you're wondering what the heck does all that mean, let me explain. So, when it says here hyper to hypo, what this means is that when it says hyper, that means that at the start of the study, there was a bunch of kids that had a lot of anxiety in their hair. And then when it says hypo, that means that across time, across the 4 years, the amount of anxiety in their hair decreased. So then when it says down here, consistent with this notion, we found that children in the hyper to hypo class had lower internalizing and externalizing psychopathology. What they're saying is that if your hair starts with lots of anxiety in the hyper group, then decreases by the end of the study to the hypo group, you're going to have lower internalizing or externalizing psychopathology. It's the lower internalizing and externalizing psychopathology, which is the fancy way of saying symptoms of a mental health disorder. So this is pretty cool. The ability to potentially detect things like anxiety through hair samples. Now, before we end the video, there's a couple of caveats to understand. First of all, this is one study. So what that means is it's actually not possible to say we can diagnose mental health disorders through hair samples. This is an emerging field of research that will take a little while before some sort of formal test can be developed to use your hair to diagnose mental health conditions. It might never eventuate as a field of study. It might be a one-of-a-kind discovery. Who knows what the future will hold? So it's important to recognize that although scientists have found this, it's not an official way to diagnose mental health disorders. So hopefully that makes sense. But one way or another, it's still a pretty cool discovery and could open up a massive new line of research in examining how different body parts might give clues to mental health conditions. So at the moment, it's just in its infancy, this sort of research. So next time you go to the hairdressers, don't worry. You're just going there to get a haircut and not to get tested for anxiety. I hope you found this video interesting. I'm a mental health professional from Australia. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.